Galileo Galilei's conflict with the Catholic Church was not a matter of denying the inspiration of Scripture, but rather a debate over its interpretation. Galileo, he was a very devout Catholic who believed that Scripture and science were not inherently in conflict. His position, which aligned with that of St. Augustine, was that the Bible should not always be interpreted literally when it comes to descriptions of the natural world. Galileo argued that Scripture speaks in a way that is accessible to common people, and that the scientific discoveries should inform our understanding of the physical universe. His stance was not a rejection of Scripture, but a call for a more nuanced interpretation that accommodated empirical evidence. The real issue at play was the Church's resistance to scientific findings that contradicted their established doctrine, not Galileo's alleged dismissal of divine inspiration. The claim that Galileo mistakenly taught the heliocentric model as fact without sufficient evidence oversimplifies the scientific context of his time. While it is true that the heliocentric model had not yet been definitively proven, lacking direct observational proofs, such as the stellar parallax, which will only be confirmed centuries later, Galileo's telescopic observations provided compelling evidence that the challenged geocentric model, his discovery of Jupiter's moons, the phases of Venus, and the detailed study of the moon's surface were significant advancements that supported the Copernican system, the Ptolemaic model. In academic discourse, theories are often presented with strongest available evidence, and Galileo had more than enough to justify serious consideration of heliocentrism. Dismissing his work as reckless ignores the nature of scientific progress, which builds on theories that are later refined or confirmed with better technology. As for Galileo's book, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, it is true that he did satirize the Pope VIII a little bit by putting his arguments in his mouth with a character named Simplicio, whose name means simpleness. However, it is mischaracterization to say that Galileo was simply insulting the Pope for being imprudent for financial reasons. At the time, intellectuals often used dialogue as a rhetorical method to explore contrasting viewpoints. Galileo's work did not outright declare heliocentrism to be definitive truth, but rather presented arguments that leaned in favor of it. The backlash he faced was not merely about his treatment of the Pope, but a broader struggle between scientific inquiry and religious authority. The Catholic Church had previously allowed heliocentrism to be discussed in hypothesis, but as political tensions grew, Galileo became a target in a large effort to assert church control over intellectual discourse. Furthermore, financial patronage does not equate to unconditional intellectual allegiance. While it may not have been politically savvy for Galileo to risk offending a powerful benefactor, economic integrity should not be compromised for financial or political considerations. If scholars were to censor their findings or opinions based on who funds them, scientific progress would be severely hindered. Galileo was ultimately punished not because he lacked prudence, but because he dared to challenge an entrenched authority that was unwilling to accept scientific developments that threatened its worldview. Galileo's legacy is not one of mistakes, but of courage that is the pursuit of truth. His work laid the foundation for modern physics, my friends. For modern physics and astronomy, and his willingness to advocate for scientific reasoning in the face of opposition that is set as a precedent for intellectual freedom. The Church itself acknowledged this era, formally vindicating Galileo centuries later. The story is not a cautionary tale of arrogance, but rather an example of how institutional resistance of change can delay the acceptance of groundbreaking discoveries. In retrospect, the real mistake was not Galileo's approach to scripture, science, or politics, but the refusal of his critics to engage with this evidence. His contributions continue to shape our understanding of the universe, proving that reason and faith, they don't have to be enemies.